It's the problem that keeps most startup founders up at night. How do you find enough capital to keep your business running? We're going to go through the ins and outs of bootstrapping, as well as look into a new source of funding for female founders in Ottawa this week on Techopia Live. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Techopia Live. I'm your host, Craig Lord, the editor here at Techopia. We are back in the accelerator space at Bayview Yards, where some of Invest Ottawa's startups are working diligently around us. This week, we're talking about the struggles of finding capital and surviving on lower resources, talking about bootstrapping a little bit. And what better guest to have than one of this week's Bootstrap Award winners? We have Dr. Ellie Ardakani from Mehta Innovation Technologies. Ellie, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries, my pleasure.
And right next to her, we have Michael Armbruster from our sponsor, TD Bank, one of our great co-hosts. Always great to have you back, Michael.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So as I mentioned up top there, Ellie, you were one of the winners of the Bootstrap Awards for the Founder of the Year at this year's event. Your company, Mehta Innovation Technologies, is in a sector, or targeting a sector that we don't see a lot of here in Ottawa, the oil and gas sector and geosciences more broadly. Can you tell me a little bit, what does MIT do for companies in this field?
So the idea behind Mehta is technically acting as a tech company, energy tech company that has an array of products. We have two sides into the company. One side is AI augmented analytics, and that's provided for hydraulic fracturing data. And the other side, which is the coolest side, is building the first simulation-based technical training platform for geoscientists and subsurface engineers. The simulation-based training been around for pilots forever because we want to make sure that we can trust the pilot when they are actually piloting an aircraft. It's the same thing with geosciences and geoscientific projects. They are multi-million-dollar projects, and we need competent staff within our corporates, within energy sector, to be able to take control of those projects and make right decisions. So they have to be competent. So having simulations to play different scenarios for those projects, that would be a great advantage to them.
You can't just afford to let someone take over a drill and, hey, go crazy out there.
Exactly.
And you'll figure it out eventually. So a little bit of software might put them in front of that first might help go a long
Absolutely.
way. Now I'm curious, you are a graduate of the University of Alberta. That's a province we think about when we think about the oil and gas sector. What actually brought you all the way east here now to Ottawa to build this company?
So it's a funny story. I graduated in Alberta and I worked in oil and gas in Calgary. And then I got a good position in the R&D sector with a company which was providing services to the oil and gas industry. And funny thing, it was in Kingston. So I actually moved to Kingston for that position. And after a couple of years working in that company, I decided that with a couple of other people, we want to start Mehta. So we co-founded Mehta in 2017. And then from there, we were incubated by Innovation Park, which was related to Queen's University. And we were working with Launch Lab, which is the innovation accelerator in the region for Kingston area. And then we were looking for talents, hiring talents, and then I was looking for advisors that can help me with strategies for going to the market. And then Launch Lab advisors, they introduced us to Invest Ottawa. I had a conversation with Nick and a couple of advisors here, and we just clicked, and we moved to Ottawa. I moved the team and everybody else. It's been great so far. I don't know, I could have not have more resources around me than I have here. So.
And that's actually a good segue. We were talking about bootstrapping earlier today. That's building a business with as few resources or financial resources as possible, and maybe making use of some of the support you have around us. On the question or the topic of bootstrapping, Michael, maybe there's a question there.
Yeah, what are some of the unique challenges that Mehta faced with limited access to capital?
I think every startup is unique in its own way, the same way that people are unique in their own way.
Yeah.
All of the startups, technically cash flow is the king for startups. That's what the livelihood of the startup relates to, if they can pay the bills at the end of the month. So we were lucky enough, and I had enough support from the industry that I could raise $250,000 at the beginning, and that kick-start everything, producing the algorithms and the software and everything else. But I knew from the beginning that we should probably try to start making money before our big software is ready for launch.
Yeah.
And that's why I was talking about array of products. So we had a couple of products, and some of them were more mature to hit the market before the other ones.
Yeah.
And that's technically what we did. So I remember 6 months after starting the company, it was a really small paycheck.
Yeah.
It was a couple of $1,000s. It wasn't anything like big. But that was the first money that we made, and 2 months after, that money was, we made 10 times of that money with one of our products. And that sustained the business, but also it provided the opportunity for us to work on multiple products at the same time.
Okay.
But obviously, funding is always a challenge. We were also lucky with getting support from IRAP.
Yeah.
Our ITA is phenomenal. She is out there to help the startups. And we also had the support from OCE, which is another great resource for startups that can actually use to subsidize some of their costs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And when you mention, funding is a challenge, we're recording this on International Women's Week, actually, and earlier this week there was a new program announced from Invest Ottawa and Capital Angel Network, the SheBoot program, which is a boot camp of sorts specifically designed to help women-led startups like your own to get that first little bit of funding. Can you maybe speak to the value of a program like that will help to make the process of securing that initial startup a little bit easier for women-led companies?
Yeah, I'm honestly very excited about this program, and I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to start a program in May. One of the things that is really unique about SheBoot, it's because it's about female founders. If you look around you, you don't see a lot of female founders, and especially in tech. Mm-hmm. So I think the existence of this program is to encourage the investors, especially the female funders, to back up the female founders in their businesses. I think there is a time that companies can go out there and raise money without any bad consequences for the company or the investors. If the startup is in that point, this program would be really beneficial to them to get in there and be able to actually raise the money that can bring them from one level to another level and accelerate their scale up. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a choice of who wants to raise and who doesn't want to raise in terms of startups. And I think the founders have this responsibility to understand what is the best time, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure that as a founder, your hard work and somebody else's investment is going to end up having a lot of impact for everybody in a positive way.
Exactly, that it's the right time for you, that you're not giving up too much or going the wrong direction too quickly, too fast, all those kinds of things. And
exactly.
Maybe a boot camp is exactly the kind of thing that a founder would need to know when is the right time and if that's the path to take. But that's excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective on that. Maybe go to Michael for one last question before we wrap up here.
Looking forward to 2020, what are some challenges that you see in the horizon for Mehta?
Oh gosh. Well, I think all of the startups, they have their own challenges, and some are generalized and some are in detail, depending on what market you want to get in. I think one thing that we're going to focus on in 2020 is marketing and sales, and reducing the sales cycle. so we can make sure that we have enough funding to have sustainable growth.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we are growing, we are hiring, and having new members within the team. We've got to make sure that everybody's clicking, everybody's working together seamlessly, because it's really important.
Yeah.
Exactly, it's really important how you build the company from ground up. Keep a good culture, keep a fun culture, keep it techie, and make sure that everybody's working and communicating in a way that they should. That would be a challenge, I think, in general, because as a founder, as a CEO, you have a lot in your plate to do, and making sure that everybody else is feeling comfortable and know the vision and direction of the company. That's a pretty much 24/7 job that you need to do all the time.
Absolutely.
So I think these are the two challenges that we're going to tackle in 2020, but we're looking forward to it.
Great.
So.
Exciting.
It does sound like an exciting path right now, an exciting time in a startup life, and it seems to be off to a great start and lots of potential that we're seeing here for Mehta Innovation. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the company goes, and thank you so much, Ellie, for coming on and sharing a bit of the story with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much, Michael, for joining us from TD
Thanks
Bank.
for having me, Craig.
Always great to have you. Now, before I let you go, I want to take a quick moment to thank some of our sponsors, without whom Techopia Live would not be possible. I want to start with Number Crunch, offering virtual CFO services for SaaS firms. There's Pearlie Robertson, Hilden McDougall, a leader in business and tech law. There's the University of Ottawa Faculty of Engineering, creating the next generation of technical talent. There's Stratford Managers, offering services to help you scale up your tech venture. There's KRP Properties, offering so much more than just space. And of course, we have Michael here today from TD Bank, offering specialized programs for those tech firms. Now, Techopia is not just this fantastic show. We're also available online with daily articles covering Ottawa's tech scene at obj.ca/Techopia. You can follow us on social, on Facebook and Twitter at TechopiaOTT. And if you're watching us on YouTube, please leave us a like and a comment. We'd love to hear from you, and subscribe to see more of our weekly tech interviews. Apart from that, I just want to thank you very much for joining us for this week's episode of Techopia Live. And we will see you next week for the next episode. Hope to see you then.
That's great.